What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I am your host. I am Caitlin Kenna-Smith, and today we're going to talk all about 6 strategies for sustainable, successful fat loss in 2025. And these are 6 science-backed strategies to not just achieve fat loss, but to achieve sustainable fat loss. Because the reality is, the reason why you clicked on this episode is because you want to accomplish a goal. You want to feel a particular way. You want to look a particular way. You want to be healthier. You want to be stronger. You want to perform better. You want to look in the mirror and feel confident in the person that's staring back at you. You want to put on whatever clothes that you want to wear and feel good throughout your day so that you can be more focused, more driven, and just live a happier life. And another reason why you probably clicked on this podcast episode is because you've been here before. You've tried to lose the weight. You've tried to do it 1, 2, 3, maybe over a dozen times. But for some reason, you keep having to lose the same 10 to 20 pounds over and over and over again. And it gets to the point where you start to question if it's even possible. You start to assume that something's wrong with you. You start to assume that, okay, maybe I'm not cut out for this health and fitness thing. Maybe I'm just not meant to be healthy. First of all, I want to ease that burden from your mind because you're capable of this. Every single person who's put on this planet is capable of achieving incredible things. The only thing that's holding you back is you. The mountain is you. Now, fitness and nutrition is simple, but it's not easy, because if it were easy, then everybody would be in incredible shape, everybody would be lean, everybody would be healthy, we wouldn't have an obesity epidemic, but that's not the case. So if nutrition and fitness is so simple, why are people struggling so hard to stay consistent or struggling so hard to just gain traction in this? And one of the biggest things that stands out to me, and I've been a coach for over 10 years helping people on their own journey and helping myself through my own, is nutrition and fitness is simple, but social media and the media in general overcomplicates the shit out of it. And a lot of us now, due to social media and due to just how convenient things are in our society today, we tend to veer away from what's uncomfortable. And getting outside of our comfort zone is the only way to achieve growth. So if you're comfortable in your current habits and those current habits are not serving a healthy, lean version of yourself, well, then you're not going to really stray out of that comfort zone unless you're pushing yourself. And what also tends to happen is that we get super motivated to accomplish our goals. We get super motivated to start losing the weight. But then we get shiny object syndrome. And shiny object syndrome causes us to look in all of these different places. And I love social media, but unfortunately, for a lot of people, that shiny object syndrome gets increased when they're scrolling through social media, because they'll see one person who's seeing incredible results doing the carnivore diet, and then they'll see another person on the next post seeing incredible progress doing a vegan diet. And then they'll see somebody else seeing incredible progress doing flexible dieting and tracking macros. And they have absolutely no idea what to do. So one, they either don't take action because they have paralysis by analysis, or they take action in one thing, they stick with that one thing for a couple weeks, then they switch it because they see somebody else doing something else that looks more appealing and that could be that thing for them. So they change things up too often and they never are truly consistent. They get easily distracted and they're impatient. The one thing that I want to tell you about this is that, one, it will take longer than you want it to take, and it will take longer than you think it will take. You have to be in it for the long haul. You can't try to sprint your way through this, because You could say, hey, you know what? I want this quick fix. I want to do it fast, and then I'll figure out the habits and behaviors on the other side. That doesn't work. That quick fix, that super intense restrictive diet, or that super intense restrictive exercise program, you think it's the quick fix. You think it's going to deliver results faster. However, it doesn't. You might see initial results, but those results drop off, and they drop off hard. And then you usually put your body in a worse spot, and you put your mind in a worse spot, because that constant introduction of failure, you think something's wrong with you. It's not you, it's your approach. These quick fixes don't work. And these quick fixes aren't the fastest way and the most effective way to achieve results. The sustainable fat loss journey, the sustainable habits, the sustainable behaviors, that is truly the most effective and the fastest way for you to achieve the best results, whether it be fat loss, muscle building, performance in 2025 and beyond. So in this episode, I'm going to go over 6 science-based strategies to achieve sustainable fat loss in 2025, meaning that you'll achieve results in 2025, but you'll be able to sustain it through 2026, 2027, 2028, hopefully a lifetime. Because this is a lifestyle. This isn't a quick fix. You've tried the quick fixes. You've lost the same 10 to 20 pounds over and over again. That's why you're here. So I'm going to break them down one at a time, because I want you guys to fully understand each and every one. And, I would really highly encourage you, if you're not driving, to take notes, whether it be, you're sitting there and you're writing it down in your notebook while you're watching this or listening to this, or you're on a walk, or you're doing some sort of cardio and you're just listening in your headphones while you're doing this. Why don't you just write it down in notes on your phone? Because these 6 things are going to be the foundations. They're going to be the framework that's going to get you to where you want to go. And just a little bit of a hint, none of them include sauna, cold plunge, doing all these biohacks, because while biohacks are incredible, those aren't going to be the things that deliver results. It's kind of like the supplementation conversation. So I work with a company called First Form, and they sell supplements. A lot of my clients take supplements that I recommend to them. I take many supplements every single day. They help with my performance. They help me reach my goals. However, if I wasn't following an appropriate nutrition plan for my goals, if I wasn't training hard and recovering, then those supplements wouldn't do anything for me. If you're somebody who is asking me, well, what's the best supplement to take, but you don't even know how much protein you're intaking on a daily basis, or you're barely eating whole foods, you're eating out all the time, that multivitamin ain't doing shit for you. It could help to, maybe get the ball rolling and have almost a domino effect where, okay, I'm taking this multivitamin now, so maybe I'll start doing other things that'll make me a healthier person, because I'm starting to view myself in a different light. Because the person who takes a multivitamin is a healthy person. So the person who takes a multivitamin also should probably pay attention to how much whole food they're eating more fruits and vegetables, drinking more water, moving more, eating more protein, things like that. But these are your framework. These are your foundations. And without a strong foundation, your building will crumble. So that's why it's so important to dial in these things and have extreme discipline to the basics. Because when you have extreme discipline to the basics, you're going to win every single time. But you just have to be patient with the process and understand that in order to achieve progress, you have to focus on that process. So, number 1, protein and whole foods. So you need to focus on protein and whole foods. And I'm sure that you've heard how important protein is for fat loss multiple times. I'm sure you're almost sick of hearing it at this point. And you've probably heard, nutrient-dense foods are going to be the best way for you to accomplish your goals for a multitude of reasons. 1, they're more satiating. 2, they have more nutrients that are actually going to give your body things that it needs for energy production, for focus, for performance, for hormone regulation. But they're also very difficult to overconsume. Not impossible, but they're more difficult to overconsume because of the satiety factor. If I were to tell you, hey, why don't you go ahead and eat a plate of chicken, rice, and broccoli versus, hey, why don't you go and eat the same calories in Oreos? You're eating those Oreos and you eat those same calories and it happens really fast and you're not satiated. You want more and more and more. So you eat the Oreos and then you eat the chicken, the rice, and the broccoli. And now you're in a calorie surplus and you're not accomplishing your goals and you can't seem to figure out why. Now, protein, let's touch on that first because, again, it's something that you hear all the fucking time, right? I feel like I can't scroll on social media nowadays. And of course, I'm in like the fitness space, so it's kind of like pushed to me with the algorithm. But I can't scroll through social media without seeing at least one person talking about protein and the importance of prioritizing protein for any goal. And I want to emphasize any goal there because I was having a conversation with one of my clients last night. And my client happened to be my brother. And he was like, even though he's dealing with a back injury, so he hasn't really been lifting as much as he used to. And he said, even though I'm not lifting more, I'm trying to focus on protein. And I said, hey, you need to focus on protein regardless of if you're weight training or not. It's not more important or less important. If your goal is fat loss, if your goal is building muscle, if your goal is health and longevity, hitting your daily protein goal on a daily basis, not occasionally, is going to be absolutely essential if you want the best results possible. And this is the biggest area that I see people miss on. And usually it comes down to they're not tracking correctly or they're not tracking consistently. So maybe they track on Monday and they're like, oh, I hit my protein goal that day. But they didn't track Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And they thought, oh, because I hit my protein goal on Monday, then I automatically hit it for the rest of the week because I do similar things. But maybe you didn't do the exact same thing. So maybe you had a little bit less here and there. Maybe you had a little bit more carbs and fats. So now you're not consistently hitting your protein goal and you're wondering why you can't earn results. This is the biggest thing when I used to work in the gym industry, where people would come in day after day, do their weight training, do their cardio, they do everything right, but they would be so frustrated with their lack of results, and it usually came down to the protein thing. They weren't hitting their protein consistently. And I said, on a daily basis for a reason. Carbs and fats, you can store carbs. You can store fats. Those things are energy sources. Your body is not going to store protein. So if your goal of hitting protein is 150 grams every single day, and one day you hit 150, great. One day you hit 100, so then the next day you're like, oh, I'll just hit 200 the next day and it'll balance out. That's not how it works. Hit your protein goal every single day. Prioritize protein at every meal to preserve muscle and to keep your hunger and cravings in check. The best way to start here is to focus on having protein at every single meal. I would say 30 to 50 grams at every single meal. And if you have absolutely no idea what that looks like, Google, what does 30 grams of protein equal? Like, what is 30 grams of protein in chicken? And eat that. It's about 5 ounces. It's easier than you think. The reason why you're making it feel harder than it actually is because you're getting in your way. You're not used to hitting your protein goal, so you're remaining in that comfort zone. What's comfortable is not eating something different, but change requires change. So great protein sources is any sort of meat. Dairies like cottage cheese, Greek yogurt are phenomenal sources. High quality whey protein supplements, if needed. You don't need them. However, what I find is that most people, at least at first, when they start their fitness journey, really struggle to hit their protein goal. So supplementing with a high quality whey protein is going to be extremely beneficial for you to start to gain traction. And then over time, you can say, okay, maybe I'm having 2 shakes a day. I'll bring it down to 1 because I don't need it because I can hit my protein through whole food, which is the ideal way to do it. And then having like a protein shake, a whey protein isolate post-workout to help with recovery is the optimal way. Now, the reason why you want to focus on whole foods, again, is because of the satiety factor. But also you're going to feel better doing this. Back when I first started my fitness journey over a decade ago, if it fits your macros and flexible dieting was extremely popular. It was like all the rage. Everybody was having Pop-Tarts and protein shakes and having these epic dessert bowls with like Greek yogurt and protein powder and cereals and cookies and trying all the different Oreo flavors. Those things are fine in moderation, and like you should be able to enjoy foods that you want to enjoy. That's part of the journey, right? It's a lifestyle. However, if you are having so much processed food, you're not going to feel good. Your hormones aren't going to optimize the way that you want them to, the way that's going to help you actually lose fat and perform at your best. I used to do the if it fits your macros flexible dieting thing when I first started, and I just didn't feel good. Like my digestion was always off. I felt like I was hungrier. I was hitting my calories and hitting my protein because that's just what I do. Like I'll starve myself to do that. And that's what I did because I had an eating disorder. But now that I'm eating mostly whole foods, and the only processed food that I'm eating is technically protein powder, which is a processed food technically. And I've never felt better. Like performance-wise, energy-wise, focus-wise, I just feel fucking great. And I know like I've been in it long enough and I've coached people through this long enough to know that yes, calories in versus calories out is scientifically what we're taught. However, if you're eating your calories from mostly processed food versus you're eating your calories through mostly whole foods, I've seen a significant difference in somebody's results and in somebody's performance, which directly impacts their results, in somebody's cravings, which directly impacts results, in their sleep, which directly impacts results. So focus on protein, focus on whole foods, because at the end of the day, those are the things that make you feel better, right? Like I'm somebody who I haven't had fast food in over 10 years. And I'm not saying that to be like, I'm better than you. I'm saying that to say I would actually starve instead of eating fast food because of how shitty I feel after I eat that. And how terrible it makes my body feel. How terrible I feel mentally too after it. But here's the thing. Like if you're somebody who's like, oh, well, I need fast food because it's convenient and I don't want to meal prep and I don't want to do all these things. Cool. Well, a grocery store is another incredible option. Every time I go on a road trip, I'm not going to a fast food restaurant. I'm going to a fucking Walmart and I'm getting, pre-cooked meats, Walmart or Whole Foods or any grocery store, right? I'm getting pre-cooked meats. I'm getting maybe even deli meat. I'm making a sandwich. I'm adding fruit. I'm getting, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, all incredible things that you can get at a grocery store. There are options wherever you go, which is why it's so important to implement one of the Powerhouse Mentality core values, which is no problems, only solutions. Because no problems, only solutions. There are so many resources out there. Stop settling because you deserve more and your body deserves more. So that's number one. And that's the biggest thing when it comes to the nutrition side of things is focus on protein, focus on whole foods. And if you want to throw a third thing in there, this is kind of like where I start all of my clients is we focus on protein, we focus on whole foods, and we focus on fiber. Because that combination is an incredible combination to not only help you feel your best and help your digestion work its best and help you perform your best, but also to keep you full and satisfied. Because if you're trying to lose body fat and you're starving all the time, that's not very sustainable. Now, number two goes more into the fitness side of things, okay? Because obviously, if you're trying to lose body fat, if you're trying to gain muscle, you're going to need to incorporate some sort of activity or some sort of strength training into your routine. Now, there are so many different forms of fitness. There's running, there's Pilates, there's, any sort of cardio that you can find in the gym, biking, swimming. There's weight training, there's powerlifting, there's CrossFit, there's group exercise classes. Right now, I want to just put out a caveat, and that is no matter what you hear about what is the best form of exercise, which I will break down, the best form of exercise for you is the one that you can actually stay consistent with. So if somebody told you like, hey, running is the best way to lose weight, but you fucking hate running, you're not going to be consistent with it. So why does it matter? And a lot of people start running because they think that it is the best form of exercise for weight loss because it has a higher calorie burn. However, that is a recipe for fat loss disaster. That's a recipe for you seeing progress for about a week or two, and then your body adapting, and now you're struggling, and then you quit. So, if we want to talk the most optimal, best, most effective, most bang for your buck exercise that is going to get you the best results, it is every single time strength training or resistance training. And the reason for that is because muscle is the secret to fat loss. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest, the more fat that you burn, the faster your metabolism is. If you're burning more calories sitting on your ass at work doing nothing because you have more muscle, because you strength train and eat enough protein, that's a hack for a sedentary lifestyle. Now, that doesn't mean that cardio is shit and cardio is irrelevant, because that is a lie too. I feel like there's two different groups. There's people who say cardio is the best, and then there's people who say strength training is the best, and they don't incorporate any of the things into each other. Whereas somebody who does a lot of endurance training, say they're doing triathlons or ultramarathons or marathons, they would benefit from doing strength training because it would help to work out a lot of imbalances that they might be having. It would make them a stronger runner, a stronger athlete. And those who do strength training would probably benefit from doing more cardiovascular exercise because, one, it would help with their strength training. Two, it would help with their overall health and longevity, and they would probably just feel better. So incorporating both is a great way to do it, but I know that a lot of people aren't going to invest the time to do both cardio and both strength training. So doing strength training while emphasizing more movement throughout your day is the best recipe I've found for fat loss success and fat loss sustainability. So incorporating 3 to 4 strength training sessions each week to build muscle, which will in turn boost your metabolism over time. And then also staying active throughout the day with simple movements that don't take a lot of time to recover from, that won't break your body down and create you to be hungrier, like running. And they won't hurt you. There's no high risk for injury like running. Running is the most injury-prone sport, and here's why. Because most people just don't fucking run properly. Some people are like, I'm going to go out for a run today, but they haven't ran in 10 years. And they go out for a fucking 2-mile run and they hurt. Their ankles hurt, their hips hurt, their knees hurt, and they wonder why they hurt. And they think that's just normal. But it's because your running mechanics are terrible. That'd be like if I was like, hey, why don't you go and do a barbell squat, but you've never ever done a barbell squat before. Your mechanics are going to be terrible at first. So you have to learn the form. You have to learn the technique. You have to learn the skill. Running is also a skill. You have to learn it if you want to get better at it. So the best form of cardio that's going to have low impact, it's not going to make you hungrier, it's going to be easy to sustain, is just walking. Don't overcomplicate it. Manage your steps or go through a walk every single day. The best way I like to do this for my clients is, because it kind of fits into your lifestyle like a puzzle piece, which is how fitness should be, is after breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just go for a 10-minute walk. That's going to help with digestion. It's going to help with managing blood sugar, but it's also going to help you accumulate more steps and movement throughout your day. But because I know people love to have a number or a gauge, aiming for between 7,500 and 10,000 steps has been shown through research to be that sweet spot. But however, everybody's going to be different. So if you're somebody who's averaging right now 5,000 steps and you're like, oh, I'll do 10. No, don't do that. Let's do 7,000. I like to always increase by 2,000 increments. And then you kind of find that sweet spot where you feel good. And usually it's around 10,000 steps for most people. Number 3 kind of goes off the nutrition piece, but it comes to be a little bit more specific. So obviously, I mentioned it earlier in the episode, being in a calorie deficit is how we lose weight. The only way to lose weight, to lose body fat, is to be in a calorie deficit. Now, how we create the calorie deficit can happen in many different reasons. It's kind of like the methods the concepts are few, but the methods are many. Same thing goes with calorie deficit. You can create a calorie deficit by increasing the amount of muscle that you have on your body, which is the best way to do it because it's the most sustainable way to do it, which is why most of my clients, when they first start out with me, we will not go into a calorie deficit, quote unquote, but we will go into a reverse diet to increase their metabolism. So that way we're building muscle and naturally putting them into a small calorie deficit, which is sustainable. They lose body fat, they gain lean muscle tissue, they look significantly better. And they're developing the body that they want and they feel damn good doing it. But again, fat loss does require burning more calories than you consume. But to keep the deficit moderate is the best way to do it. So don't go ahead and throw yourself into a 1,000 calorie deficit. It's not very sustainable. Most people aren't going to be able to actually adhere to it. So doing something between like 200 to 500 calories per day for long-term success without burnout is optimal. And I do also want to say that you shouldn't be in a calorie deficit for more than 8 weeks at a time. What I like to do for my clients is we're doing 8-week cuts. We do 4 weeks on, 1 week off, back to maintenance, and then back into the deficit and see how the body responds. You should be cycling in and out. There are different seasons when it comes to nutrition. So always being in a calorie deficit is a losing game. You'll notice that your body starts to adapt and then you have to continue to lower your calories or continue to increase your activity. Eventually it becomes too much stress for your body and it's not going to be able to handle it. Again, we're chasing sustainability. We're not chasing quick fix burnout. And because, again, I know people love numbers, the easiest way for you to calculate what is the calorie for me to be in a calorie deficit, if you want to do a general thing, then you would do 12 times your goal body weight. And that would be the amount of calories that you would aim for. And I like to do a range. So if you do that equation and the calories come out to 2,000, then I would aim for 1,900 to 2,100 because there's no magical number. And being within that range, you're going to be good. And it's going to allow you to adhere more to it. And adherence really is the key to this all. If you can't adhere, then what's the point? However, if you want things to be a little bit more specific, then what I would recommend and what I have my clients do is I have you track your food, all of your food, everything that you put in your body accurately for anywhere between 7 to 14 days. We monitor how your body responds, and then we go from there. Then we have a more accurate number to go off of because we put in the work and we put in the data to say, hey, you've been averaging 1,800 calories and you've been losing weight. That means we're in a calorie deficit. Cool, we can hang out here. We can even start increasing your calories a little bit to see how much we can do. Because the goal should always be, how can I eat as much as possible while losing body fat? Not how can I eat as little as possible to lose body fat as fast as possible. It should be as sustainably as possible. So it's about a mindset shift there. Number 4, and this is the one that people don't pay attention to. They don't even think about it most times. They're like, okay, I'm hitting my protein, I'm tracking my calories, I'm doing my strength training, I'm moving, but I'm not seeing results. What the hell's going on? Like, this doesn't work. I need another quick fix. No. You suck at recovering. Your shit is sleep. You're stressed all the time. So you have to become a master of sleep and a master of stress management. So getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep and using different tools like meditation or journaling to manage your stress, those are going to impact your results more than you could probably ever even imagine. Think about it like this, because I know that a lot of people can relate to this. Have you ever had a shitty night of sleep and you wake up the next day and you just kind of feel inflamed? Like your body, like you squeeze your hands and they're a little bit like swollen, and you feel like you're holding on to water, and then you step on the scale and the scale's up. Well, that's because you're holding on to water, because you're fucking inflamed, because you didn't sleep and now your body's overly stressed. So number 1, prioritize sleep quality. Quality over quantity. I understand that in today's day and age, some people just cannot get the amount of sleep that they would ideally want to get. However, you can always focus on maximizing the time that you're in your bed by focusing on the quality of your sleep. So fat loss isn't just about workouts and food. It's also about recovery. You have to work hard, recover harder. And poor sleep is going to increase your hunger hormones like ghrelin, which is your hunger signaling hormone. So ghrelin, hungry. And then it's going to decrease leptin, which signals fullness. So you're going to be hungrier and less likely to be full, which is not a good place to be if you're trying to lose body fat. So you want to aim for, like I said, 7 to 9 hours in bed, asleep. Not in bed, period. In bed asleep. Because if I say, hey, aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you're like, oh, well, I was in bed from 10 to 5, so I was in bed for 7 hours. Yeah, but you probably weren't asleep for those 7 hours, because most people don't literally knock the fuck out as soon as they hit the pillow. And they usually wake up at least 1 to 2 times throughout the night. So I have to keep those things in account. So if you're trying to aim for 7 hours of sleep, get to bed 30 minutes before that 7 hours. So instead of 10, get to bed at 9:30. So that's going to also help to regulate your metabolism, regulate your energy levels. You're not you when you're hungry, and sleep impacts literally everything. So create a bedtime routine. Turn off your screens an hour before you go to bed. Put your phones down. That shit is keeping you awake. Those endless doom scrolls. Don't lie to yourself. I know you do it because I do it sometimes too. More times than I like to admit. I'm working on it. But also keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet to set up the right environment for sleep. And then managing stress. So I like to think of stress as everybody has a stress bucket. You can think of it as like a literal bucket that you carry around with you everywhere. And you can put as much stress as you want in that bucket, and you're good. Like, you're good. And then the second you put something in there, and it could be a really small thing, the second you put something in there that causes that stress bucket to overflow, you're fucked. You're inflamed. You feel like crap. You're not earning results. Straight up. So you need to figure out a way to, yes, life is stressful. Yes, we have stress in our life and we can't avoid that. But how can we manage the stress? How can we empty out the stress bucket just enough so we can keep putting other things in it without it overflowing? High stress levels are going to raise your cortisol hormone, which is a hormone linked to fat storage, especially around the midsection. And usually it's not cortisol directly that is like, you have high cortisol, you have body fat, excessive body fat. That's not correct, because, and I think that it's something that's thrown around all the time that I really want to address. Cortisol can lead to more cravings. It can lead to impaired blood sugar. It can lead to water weight and inflammation. So while cortisol directly does not cause fat storage or fat gain, the habits of somebody who has high cortisol could cause that. So somebody's not getting enough sleep because their cortisol is elevated. They're getting disrupted sleep, so they're inflamed, and then they're not getting good sleep. So now they're craving more sugars and foods that they're probably giving into those cravings. Now they're eating like an asshole and they're not really managing things. That's where the fat gain comes from cortisol, because you can say like, oh, cortisol is the stress hormone, so when somebody's stressed, that means they're gaining weight. That's not true, because I'm sure you know somebody who gains weight when they're stressed because they stress eat, but you also know somebody who loses weight when they're stressed because they don't eat. And when I got my blood work done through Joy Wellness, which is a third-party company that I work with who does an incredible job. Their link is always down below for you guys to check them out if you're looking to get blood work done and looking to get your hormones checked, which I highly recommend you do at least every 6 months. Most people don't, because they don't want to face the reality of what's going on with their body. I was that person for a long time, and now that I've started to actually pay attention to my hormones, it's helped my life. So my cortisol was 17.5, and if you know anything about cortisol, that's fucking ridiculously high. But if you were to look at me, you probably wouldn't be like, she has elevated cortisol because she's holding on to excessive body fat. I have abs. If I have abs, probably people wouldn't think I have high cortisol. So understand that it's not cortisol directly that causes fat storage and fat gain. It is the habits that come from somebody who has high cortisol. And if you don't have discipline, or if you haven't been in it for a while, then maybe you just don't have those habits that are truly maintained and sticking. So it's important for you to manage that chronic stress, because it could lead to emotional eating and it could lead to skipping workouts, which is really where the fat storage comes from. So practice some mindfulness techniques. Meditation, deep breathing, those things have been shown to lower your stress. Journal or create a brain dump at night, which is really what I like to have my clients do. Is I say, hey, set a timer for 5 minutes and just brain dump and let go of all those lingering worries that are keeping you up at night. And then make sure you schedule breaks and schedule downtime to actually recharge your mental health. Most of us just go throughout our day kind of like on autopilot, and we just go, 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 go. And we never actually take a second to like breathe, and take a break for a second. And one way that this has helped me, because I used to suck at both of these things, sleep and stress, and I'm getting better at them. However, there's still room for improvement, is I like to connect my sleep and my stress to my performance. So I know that better sleep and reduced stress are going to improve my workout performance. It's going to improve my decision making. It's going to improve my energy. And those factors are going to contribute to me being able to sustain the results that I'm after over time. And if you're looking to achieve fat loss, and your workout performance is better, your decision making is better, and your energy is better, then you're going to be able to sustain fat loss versus somebody who isn't paying attention to these things. And the last two, number 5 and 6, while they are actionable tips, number 5 is an actionable tip, they are a little bit more related to the mindset towards, or your perspective towards the journey. So number 5 is track your progress, but track your progress the right way. Most people track their progress the wrong way. And at this point in time, I have absolutely no idea why people use the scale. I really don't. Because the scale usually does more harm than good, especially if you're somebody who's trying to improve their body composition, where you're trying to lose body fat, you're trying to get more lean, more toned. You want to lose body fat and build muscle. That's what that means. You want to look tighter. You want to look better. The scale isn't going to reflect that, because if you're losing body fat and you're gaining muscle at the same time, the scale might not budge, but you're seeing unbelievable results. But because we as humans are so emotionally tied to that fucking number on a piece of plastic, and it defines our worth, we don't see the results. We just see the number on the scale and we fuck everything up. So use apps to track your food. Number 1. So MyFitnessPal, I use the First Form app. I have all of my clients use the First Form app because I find that it's the best one. It's only $9.99 a month. Link is always down below in the description in the show notes. To log your food, and it also tracks your weight, tracks your photos, tracks your different habits and behaviors over time. And that's what matters. So the way that I like to think of it is like, if we're tracking progress the right way, we're focusing on performance, we're focusing on digestion, we're focusing on energy, focusing on confidence. If you're getting stronger, you're seeing results. Period, end of story. If you're getting stronger, you're probably losing body fat and gaining muscle, unless you're like just gaining a shit ton of weight and that's the reason why you're getting strong. But you would know that. I also like to think of like, what is my favorite outfit and how does that fit differently, right? So if my client has a sweatshirt that they fucking love and they wear all the time, because we all have that sweatshirt, like how does that sweatshirt feel today versus how did it feel on day 1 of you starting your journey? If you want to use some sort of like a measurement, you can do waist circumference. That's the best, in my opinion. Photos are great because photos aren't going to lie as much as the scale could lie, because the scale could be up or down for so many different reasons. And some people even think like, oh, the scale is down, I'm seeing results, but the scale could be down because you're losing muscle. And that means that you're slowing down your metabolism and you're not seeing results. You're actually making yourself fatter in that situation. So even if the scale is going down, that doesn't mean that you're actually seeing progress. So that's why I like to say, hey, we can weigh ourselves every 90 days, but other than that, I really don't want you to be obsessed with the scale. And there's such an empowering feeling from that. So focus on the process, focus on your performance, on your strength, focus on your energy, on your confidence. Those are the best ways to measure results. And number 6, and arguably the most important, and the one that you need to apply to every single thing we already spoke about today, is stay consistent and be willing to pivot or adapt when needed. So perfection is bullshit. Perfection isn't required for you to see results, but consistency is key. And perfection, or that all or nothing mindset, is usually what gets people down the most. Like they think like, oh, I wasn't perfect today. Well, fuck this. I can't do it anymore. But the reality is consistency is what's going to deliver results every single time. If you miss one day, if you ate like an asshole one day, if you missed a workout one day, you can't let that one day define you and cause you to go down fucking spiraling. You have to say, cool, yesterday sucked. How can I learn and grow from it? And let me just get right back on track today. That doesn't mean, oh no, I ate like an asshole yesterday and I didn't work out, so now I'm going to punish myself with a ton of extra cardio and starve myself. No, just fucking get back to your plan. And on top of that, be willing to pivot and adjust and adapt if needed, because the reality is life is going to throw curveballs at you. And you need to be able to adjust to fit your lifestyle while keeping your long-term goals in mind. Routine is great. However, if you can't function, if life throws a curveball at you and your routine is thrown off, and you just put your hands up and say, fuck this, I'm just going to go to McDonald's, like that's not going to work. Pivot and adapt. No problems, only solutions. There's always a way. So I hope that this episode was helpful for you guys. I promise you that if you apply all 6 of these tips to your journey this year in 2025, you will see the best results, the most sustainable results, whether you're trying to gain fat or whether you're trying to lose body fat, gain muscle, seek performance, or just be healthier and happier. If you found this episode valuable, please go ahead, click that like button, click that comment button, leave me a comment about what you want to see next. Subscribe if you haven't already, and go out and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.